Welcome back. I'm Neil Chase, author of Iron Dogs and writer-director of Spin the Wheel. And today we're continuing our deep dive into villain archetypes. We'll break down what makes them tick, their strengths, their weaknesses, and why they hold such a powerful place in storytelling. And of course, we'll look at some fantastic examples from pop culture. By the end of this video, you'll have a better understanding of how to use this archetype in your own stories. So today, let's look at the ultimate villain sidekick, the one that does the heavy lifting while the boss stays in the shadows. The Henchman. So grab your popcorn, let's get started. First, let's talk about what an archetype actually is. An archetype is a recurring character type that represents universal human traits across cultures and history. You'll find them in myths, legends, movies, books, even video games. Think of archetypes as templates that the writer uses to build their own characters. Villain archetypes, like hero archetypes, follow recognizable patterns, but while hero archetypes evolve through struggle and growth, villains tend to resist change, doubling down on their worst traits. Some villains are masterminds, others are monsters. But the henchman? Well, they're the loyal enforcer who carries out someone else's evil plans. Now you've seen this character before, the muscle behind the brain, the hired gun who does all the dirty work. They may not be calling the shots, but they're the ones making sure the main villain's plans come true. So what makes a henchman? Well, first off, they're loyal to a fault. The henchman often follows orders without question, sometimes to their own detriment. Their devotion can be unwavering, whether it's out of respect, greed, fear, or simply a lack of independent thought. This blind loyalty can be their greatest strength, but can also be a fatal flaw if their leader betrays or discards them. They can also be physically or tactically dangerous. Henchmen serve a purpose, and it's usually their ability to fight, intimidate, or enforce the main villain's will. They might be skilled fighters, assassins, or strategic thinkers in battle, making them formidable opponents for the hero. However, they can also be less strategic than their boss. So while they may excel in combat or carrying out missions, they often lack the grand vision of their leader. They follow orders, rather than create their own plans, meaning they can usually be outmaneuvered by more strategic heroes. And let's face it, they are often underestimated. Because they seem as secondary to the main villain, heroes and villains alike may not take them seriously. This underestimation can be a huge mistake if the henchman turns out to be more competent or unpredictable than expected. And why do writers and audiences alike love this archetype? Well, for starters, they create immediate conflict. A well-placed henchman can introduce tension right away, serving as a physical threat or an extension of the main villain's influence. Whether they're the first opponent the hero must overcome or a recurring problem, they will keep the stakes high. They also showcase the main villain's power. A strong henchman reflects the strength of the villain they serve. If the main villain has someone dangerous working for them, it proves that they are a real threat with significant resources. And some henchmen steal the show. Many become fan favorites, sometimes even more memorable than their boss. Just take a look at Boba Fett or Darth Maul as perfect examples. Their unique quirks, combat prowess, surprising depth, or even simply their air of mystery can make them standout characters in their own right. Now, the henchman isn't just a pawn. They have strengths that make them among the most formidable opponents. First up is their intimidation factor. A good henchman can strike fear just by showing up. Their mere presence warns others not to cross their boss, reinforcing the main villain's reputation and underscoring their power. And really, is there a better example of this than Darth Vader? He starts out as Grand Moff Tarkin's lackey and then Emperor Palpatine's chief enforcer, but his overwhelming power and menacing presence make him feared across the galaxy, even by his own bosses. Then there's also their physical prowess. Many henchmen are the strongest or deadliest fighters in a villain's organization, capable of beating heroes in direct combat. The hero's hardest challenge often comes from the henchman, and not the main villain. For example, look at the Mountain from Game of Thrones. As Cersei's personal bodyguard, his immense size and brute force make him nearly unbeatable in battle, especially after he's experimented upon by Cersei's alchemists. Then there's their unquestioning loyalty. The best henchman will follow orders without hesitation, no matter how dangerous or immoral the task. Some serve for money, while others are true believers. For example, take Oddjob from Goldfinger. His physical prowess, unwavering obedience to Goldfinger, and unique killing methods make him a nearly unstoppable obstacle for James Bond. And finally, they are a serious roadblock. The henchman often serves as the first major battle or hurdle the hero must overcome, setting the tone for the final confrontation. And in many cases, they are also the final challenge for the hero before facing the main villain. Just look at the Nazgul in The Lord of the Rings. These relentless hunters prove Sauron's reach is vast and inescapable, and their leader, the Witch King, is nearly invincible all by himself. But despite their strengths, henchmen have major weaknesses that can be exploited. First is their blind loyalty. While their dedication to orders can be a strength in general, it can become their undoing if they are too fanatical in their devotion or just too greedy for a paycheck, becoming predictable and easy to manipulate. For example, look at Boba Fett in Return of the Jedi. Driven by money, pure and simple, Fett underestimates Luke's powers as a Jedi Knight and pays a huge price in the belly of the Sarlacc as a result. Next is their lack of independent thinking. They rarely challenge their leader's decisions, even when those decisions are flawed. For example, there's Gazelle in Kingsman's Secret Service. Despite her brutal efficiency, Gazelle rarely acts outside of her employer's will, making her vulnerable when his leadership crumbles. And, let's face it, they are all too often expendable. Villains rarely value their henchmen, demanding loyalty, but offering none themselves, meaning that they can be discarded or sacrificed at any time and for any reason. Is there a better example of this than Bob in Batman? The Joker's right-hand man is loyal to a fault until the very end, only to be unceremoniously shot by his unhinged boss when he's no longer useful. And finally, they can have tunnel vision. Henchmen can focus so much on executing orders that they fail to see the bigger picture or adapt to changing situations. Just look at Bellatrix Lestrange in the Harry Potter series. A fanatical and sadistic Death Eater so devoted to Voldemort and chaos that she often charges blindly into battle without considering the consequences of her actions. And here are some other memorable henchmen from movies and books. First up, Agent Smith from The Matrix, a relentless enforcer of the machine-controlled system who despises humanity and can replicate himself. Agent Smith becomes a force in his own right to challenge both Neo and his own masters. Mr. Joshua in Lethal Weapon, a cold and skilled mercenary serving as the ruthless right-hand man of the main villain, and hell-bent on beating Riggs at all costs. Benedict in Last Action Hero, a cunning hired killer with a distinct prosthetic eye who dispatches his own boss to become the main villain before manipulating reality itself. Clarence Boddicker in RoboCop, a sadistic crime lord and enforcer known for his brutal tactics and sadism, and working for a corrupt executive looking to take over both Detroit and the industry at large. Bombata in Conan the Destroyer, a powerful warrior serving Queen Taramis, trusted to protect Princess Jenna on a mythic quest, even if it means ultimately betraying Conan. Carl in Die Hard, the muscle to Hans Gruber's brain, he's driven by revenge in his relentless pursuit of John McClane, proving to be harder to kill than any of the other villains in this story. And Ursa from Superman 2, a ruthless Kryptonian lieutenant of General Zod, fiercely loyal and merciless in her shared pursuit of Kryptonian dominance. The henchman archetype is a classic for a reason. They create immediate conflict, showcase the main villain's power, and sometimes, maybe even most times, even steal the spotlight. Whether they're silent hired guns or charismatic scene stealers, they can be a crucial part of any great villain story. The trick with writing a great henchman is to give them their own distinct personality and goals, which don't necessarily have to line up with their employers, and in the best stories often don't. Make them the main villain in their own minds, and they'll impress your story characters as much as your actual audience. But hey, these are just my 2 cents. Give me yours. Let me know in the comments below who's your favorite henchman in movies, books, or TV, and what is it about them that resonates with you? And if you'd like to support my channel and see more content like this, please click the links below to check out my work. If you're a fan of action or horror, you'll love my novel Iron Dogs. Or if you prefer dramatic thrillers, then my latest film Spin the Wheel is out now on Tubi. Or if you're looking to take your story to the next level, please click the link below to find me at neilchasefilm.com. And if you're looking for more unique storytelling tips, take your fiction to the next level, click that like button, subscribe to my channel, and hit that notification bell to stay updated with the latest content. Until next time, stay creative.